We are live. Here we go.
Yay, live.
All right. We got audio
All
everywhere.
right, we got people here already.
Nice. Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to start recording now. Got your mic all set up and square into you? Pull it to you? Pull it to you. Thanks, babe. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it was quite an inconvenience for me to do that.
Well, it's enough of that. You ready?
Yeah.
If you guys are new to this, I appreciate you. We have a podcast, and today is episode 100. We put it out on the BTYE podcast here on YouTube, but we want to live stream it here for you today. It's going to be taken down immediately, and then it's going to repost on Tuesday. So I love you. Thank you for being here. Let's get started. Crap, what a great start. It's way too low.
Yeah, it is.
Wait for that to pass. Hang tight.
Yeah. All right, we're going to do a do-over here in a second.
This is live and how it really actually happens. It's always
We are professionals, I promise.
We are real good at this.
And you can hear the dog snoring in
Yes,
the
you
background.
can. It's not a podcast without them doing that.
Yep.
All right.
Should be good now.
Yep. Okay, here we go. And 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Better Than Yesterday Everyday Podcast, where we cover anything related to behavior change that will increase your long-term wellness and happiness. And now, here are your hosts, personal trainer and RNs, Matt and Jenna Lane.
What is happening? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Better Than Yesterday Everyday Podcast. My name is Matt.
And I'm Jenna.
This podcast is now at 100 episodes strong. I'm very proud of that. If you're new to this, we are all about implementing behavior change for your long-term wellness and happiness. Both Jenna and I are registered nurses, and I'm a personal trainer. I have a sub-certification in behavior change. And 100 episodes ago, we set out on this journey to pave the path for our podcast. And knowing that we'll never be in double numbers again, I have a little bit of pride in that. I really do.
Yeah, I didn't think that we would get this far.
Yeah.
Not that I had doubts about being able to get this far, but 100 is a long way away from episode 1.
It is. It is. We're actually live streaming this on the Matt Lane Fitness YouTube channel as we speak, so we're going to be interacting with the people watching a little bit. At the time of recording this, we have 826 followers, subscribers on the BTYE podcast on YouTube. We actually can't go live until we hit 1,000. So if you
That's why we're doing it.
That's
on the
why we're
Matt
doing
Lane
it on the Matt
channel.
Lane channel. But if you want us to start going live a little bit more, you would give us the option over on the BTYE podcast. If you can help us get to that, that would be fantastic.
Go check us out.
Go check it out. I'm very, very proud. What we want this episode to be is a reflection of what the first 100 episodes were. Mm-hmm. You know, what does it look like moving forward? What have we learned? What's been good? What's been bad? And I think that there's been nothing but good from it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. At the top of every show, we always hit you with our gratitude point. The gratitude point is something that can just shift your perspective. If you're having a down day, if things are just holy crap, 100 times now we've done this on the show. This is something that Jenna and I practice on a daily basis. And I'm gonna have you go first.
Okay. So, my at the time of this recording, my grandfather's in the hospital with COVID. I actually just FaceTimed with him. Very proud of him for figuring that out. He's 87. And we were talking about right now, the northern U.S. is experiencing, I don't even know how you say it, the blizzard named Shirley. Do you call it Blizzard Shirley like you call it Hurricane
Are you
Sally?
asking me that?
Yeah.
You're
I don't
really
know.
asking me that?
Anyway, so my grandmother's
idea.
first name was Shirley, and she passed away when I was in high school. So we were talking about how it's kind of funny that they name blizzards did I just call it hurricane? How they name blizzards, people's names now, and how it's Shirley is the current blizzard. And he was talking about how much she loved snow. And I don't remember that. I always remember her, not enjoying the snow and having to try to drive in it and shovel the snow and stuff. And he said that she always loved the morning after it snowed at night, and she always called it a Hallmark morning. And I never knew that.
Like that.
I don't remember her ever saying that. So I'm very grateful that I was able to learn something new about my grandma today.
I like that. I like that. I think that mine is sort of an overarching theme of what this podcast has really been. The gratitude point that I have today is, again, sort of ever reaching back to what this has been, and I think that it's been adaptability. As the dogs knock something over. What did you just hit? Oh, it was the dog's paws hitting in the metal. Okay. Gotcha. We'll get to that super chat. Thank you, bro. I appreciate you. Adaptability. That's ultimately what I see with this podcast. And I mean that in the development of myself, in the development of you personally, individually, but then also as together. And then on another level as creators together. The adaptability is, we had to shift, and we had to go with what happened rather than stop.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of that adaptability. I'm grateful that we have that. So yeah. We actually just had a super chat roll through. Babe, you want to read it?
Yeah. It's from Daniel Skinner. Thank you so much. It says, hey, Matt, like a few others who have been here for a year, I'm still waiting for you to introduce Holden, the movie The Rocketeer.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love that movie.
I've never seen it either.
It's fantastic. I'm not sure where that is on the list, but I would love to do that. There's a few people that want us to see that, but in time, that magical list that he has, we will utilize it at some point.
We don't know if it actually exists or not.
Exactly.
Ox is here.
What's up, man?
Thank you so much.
Oxford Haney in the chat right now. He was actually on one of the episodes.
Yeah.
And,
he just says,
episode.
Woo, 100 episodes.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat. That means a lot. Utilize it at some
That
point.
we don't know if it actually exists.
That was my bad. I was playing something in the background. So what I was doing, I was trying to queue up the very first episode. And I've listened to the first episode a handful of times just to sort of remind me like where we came from with this. And if you don't know, this podcast almost didn't happen. I was working with someone, and then we sort of parted ways, and then I was like, well, I can do my own podcast. But there was a piece of me that was like, do I need to do that? Do I really have value to bring? Can I split myself between both the Matt Lane Fitness channel, building the business, having a day job, and do I want to mix this with Jenna? Do I want to cross this line of husband and wife, then creator? Technically, this would be a business aspect. But I think the big piece within me was honestly the confidence piece of, can I do this?
Yeah,
it really was. That was the precipice of it. And that very fear that I had in that moment of, can I really do this? Can I really juggle all this? That was the reason that I went towards it. I was like, that makes me nervous. I don't know about that. And I was like, screw that. You're going to go do that. So we built this studio that you see. By the way, if you are listening to this in playback, there is a video in the link down in the description below. We built this podcast studio that you see. We built the foam panels by hand, and there's a video actually in the morning vlog over on the Matt Lane Fitness YouTube channel of us building it by hand. A good friend of mine, Casey Crabtree, he got on top of the table that you see right here, used a saw and just cut a gigantic hole in here so we could put all the wires from everything in. And it's so cool to look around and reflect on the memories, like all this foam panel, whatnot. Like I remember thinking that was what we were going to use, but we had to end up making stuff. It was it was such an ordeal that I just did not expect. The mics and this board that you see and all that, I put months and months and months of homework into, and
and we really, this was possible because we're surrounded by amazing friends.
1,000%.
That helped us.
Travis
build
Patterson.
Piece by piece. Yeah. Travis.
Casey Crabtree. Holden for encouraging it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many people were so supportive, and
Yeah.
it was just so cool to see.
I also just want to stop and read a super chat.
Okay.
Super chat. Nikovic says hula hoops are cool.
Oh, boy. So if you don't know at the time of this, I have a vote going on the Matt Lane Fitness YouTube channel of what's the 30-day challenge going to be next, and
what's winning?
well, I don't want to talk about it. We'll get to that later because the patrons and the members are still voting on it. By the way, if you want to support this podcast channel or the Matt Lane Fitness YouTube channel, you can do so by becoming a patron or a member of the Matt Lane Fitness YouTube channel. That helps us more than you will know. There are also links in the description for that. So I want to play the first episode real quick, and not the entire thing, obviously, but just I want to see what comes here. I just want to see. Let's play. So we didn't even have, all we had was audio at this time. We did not have video even capability.
This sounds good so far.
I had it turned down.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is the pre-recorded stuff. Sounds good.
Yeah, right?
I sound great.
Oh, we're finally here. Hey, I am Matt.
And I'm Jenna.
Man, I'm so excited about this. Welcome to the
That's really
welcome to the
echoey.
first
You hear the echo?
episode of
Yeah.
the Better Than Yesterday Everyday podcast. We've been working on this for so long.
So the very first episode, we actually didn't have the sound panels up. So
Yeah.
the audio was just bouncing left and right. And
And just for, just to kind of give you a visual, this is our dining room.
yeah,
So, when Matt started talking about let's do a podcast, I was like, okay. And then he was trying to figure out how to fit a podcast setup into his studio, which is just a extra bedroom of ours. And I was like, well, where can we put that? Like, there's just not enough room
Yeah.
in there for another setup of something else. And I was like, we obviously we have people come stay with us on occasion. Like the guest bedroom needs to stay in the guest bedroom.
yeah.
So I walked in here and we had a dining room table and a china cabinet that's in our eating kitchen now. And I was like, I just was looking. I'm like, we don't ever use this room ever.
You know that room in your house that you never use? This was that room. We never use it.
Yeah.
And every time I walked past it, I always felt sick to my stomach. I was like, why? Why? You know? So
Yeah. So I told Matt, I was like, well, why don't you convert this? And then I was so thankful that it took so long because I committed to doing this podcast with him. And then I'm like, I'm not a talker. I don't put my feelings into words very easily. Like, I'm not an eloquent person. Like, I like to read and I like to read very eloquent things, but I can't put my emotions into words very easily. So I was very thankful that it took months, literally. Like, the Rodecaster, the board was on back order for like 2 months.
Yep.
And then it took us like another month to build this studio. And I was very thankful for every day
yeah, seriously.
that we didn't start because I was really nervous. And I'm still, like, I've learned this past year and a half, I'm not a good host. I can't carry, that's your forte. And I'm not, this is not me downing myself, but just realizing that, like, you carry a conversation really well with people. And that's why you're the main host. I'm the co-host.
So I will agree with you that I know how to carry a conversation. I can sort of dig into I can dig into someone and make that conversation basically relay value to you listening or watching, because that's ultimately what this podcast is. If it's not bringing you value, it never got released, and there were a few that did not get released because I felt that they did not deliver value for whatever reason.
And that's okay.
Yeah, for real.
Like, we've had off days that
we have.
we haven't released, that we're just us.
Exactly.
And we're like, what are we even talking about?
Yeah, like it wasn't like a subjective, I don't feel comfortable right now. It was simply like we were not able to get out what we were trying to say in a way that was going to benefit somebody.
Yeah. Are you watching the chat?
I'm not. I was actually going to go back to the first episode. Go ahead.
So here, there's 2 super chats.
Okay.
It's your turn to read.
Thank y'all. I appreciate you. You didn't have to do this. Okay, let's see here. is it on Syed? I hope I got that right. Own. Found you guys through Holden. Glad I did. Love your content, the goofiness, motivation, and knowledge you bring. Jenna is great as well. LOL. Thank you. I appreciate you. That means
awesome.
that means a lot. And it's funny that you say that, the goofiness and the motivation. That means a lot, because I feel like for me, Jenna knows much more the side of me that is driven, motivated than I think that is put on camera, especially on Holden's channel. I'm the goofy guy that doesn't like Star Wars. I feel like that side of me isn't out there as much. If you see me on the live streams with the push-ups and the when we're meal prepping on Sundays and all that, like on the Matt Lane Fitness YouTube channel, I feel like that goofy side of me isn't out there. No, it is out there, but the motivational, like, that side doesn't pour through as much. So I appreciate you saying that. That means a lot, and thank you for the super chat. Lee, thanks, man. Lee, who's running through the 30-day full body group challenge. Congrats, man. Congrats on 100, guys. Looking forward to the future. Also, hula hoop. You know what, Lee? You're canceled. Lee. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. So yeah, just a little bit longer. I want to listen to this first episode and just reflect on it a little bit more.
Okay.
I'm so happy to get this going. This podcast is all about behavior change, mental fitness. If you are working on your overall wellness and happiness, then you have found the right podcast. Every week, this is going to be a 30 to 45 minute show, and we're going to bring on people that are not in the health and wellness industry. We want to bring on people that are working on self-improvement, working on their own happiness, so they can bring value to you. That I truly want to just bring value to you. I'm also a YouTuber, so I might repurpose some of my own content in an audio fashion.
There you go.
If it's going to bring you value, I'm going to bring it to you.
That's it right there. That's what I wanted to get to. And I was so happy that I set myself up for that. It was very intentional, because I wanted from there on to not just be this sit down, it has to be an interview, we bring somebody on. I wanted there to be that ability to repurpose things from the Matt Lane Fitness YouTube channel, as long as it was value. If it was hitting in that mental fitness realm, then it was going to work. So I'm happy that I did that. But
We got a super chat from Bradley Dewey.
Bradley, thanks, man.
Or MFM.
Bradley, I appreciate you. And he said MFM, if you don't know, the Mental Fit Mafia. That was actually born in the first 100 episodes of this podcast.
Yep.
Originated on the Matt Lane Fitness YouTube channel. But it's so cool how much has progressed looking back all the way to episode 1. Yeah. And, I talked about that in the first episode. We're going to bring more people on than just health, wellness, fitness people. And we definitely did that.
Yeah. We did. Because it's not just health and wellness people that can bring value to health and wellness. Because
Correct.
Everybody's got a story.
Yep.
And, sometimes that story is really inspiring to other people.
Yep.
And sometimes just knowing the struggle of someone else and seeing how they've gotten through it and that they've gotten through it is inspiring. And I've also thought, so I was thinking about like kind of what we've worked through here in this room in the last 100 episodes.
There you go.
And, how, Matt and I have both had emotional podcasts where we didn't mean to do that. It just happened in this room. I think to me, when we're doing this podcast, it's very exposing, I think.
Extremely.
Like you can do a podcast about something and not be exposing. Like if we were talking about movies or whatever, it wouldn't be exposing. But what we're talking about is mental health, and we're speaking from our experiences.
Yeah.
And putting that into words sometimes is emotional.
Yeah.
But I think it's been very cathartic for us specifically.
Yeah.
To work through some of those things, to verbalize some of those things. And I've even said a couple of times that even if no one else found value through our podcast, that I feel like we've gotten our own value from it.
It's been therapeutic 100%. You and I both have actually cried on this podcast unexpectedly, and we've had times where we weren't in the best place. Mm-hmm. And I fucking love it gives me so much pride that you did that too. Like you took the moments that you weren't strong or you weren't feeling on top of the world, and you still came here and reported. You still came here and talked. And episode 7 is probably, no, I'm lying. I thought it was episode 7. I'm looking for it now, but there was one episode that is probably episode 3. That's one of them. But you had a handful of episodes that you basically just took over. I was a Cliff Note, and I was so okay to be a Cliff Note, but you were so transparent and vulnerable that it did help. For in that moment, if it did help you, it did help others. I know that. They told me that. I got emails, I got comments, and I'm so proud of that, because the cool thing about this podcast is I don't edit this podcast.
Yeah.
Like, I don't take out the ums, I don't take out those pieces, I don't take out the contemplation, the pauses, the dogs farting, whatever. I don't
Which
take,
is happening right now.
right
by the way.
currently, and I don't take that out because that is as real as it gets.
Yeah.
And in an edited video where you can cut these pieces out, you can make yourself as shiny and perfect as possible.
Right.
But I don't want that.
That's the opposite of the point of this.
Exactly.
And just want to say, McLovin, thank you for being here. Send us a super chat. Says, can't stay, gotta sleep. You're both the best. Get some sleep. Get some sleep.
Get some sleep. Get some sleep, McLovin. I appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat, man.
And just as a disclaimer, if I say anything weird or seem off, I had a little surgical procedure this afternoon, and so half of my body's numb.
Well, and again, if you're new to this podcast, or if you just need a refresher, I want to run through a few of them that we've done. The first episode was "What is the Better Than Yesterday Everyday Podcast?" The second was how to conquer gym intimidation. My anxiety gives me anxiety. How to have work-life balance. Be yourself. Our friend Andy beats CP. We talk about how we got in and out of $30,000 worth of debt. Talk about what we did not learn in nursing school. Episode 17, Jenna's raw moment, and there isn't a scale to judge your mental wellness.
And Rich just sent us a super chat. That was an awesome podcast.
That was a great podcast. Yes, it was.
And he says, love being on the podcast. It really helped me grow and helped me with my anxiety with speaking in front of people. Love you guys and congrats.
So Richard Becker is a good friend of mine. He actually gave me like my first camera that I used on the Matt Lane Fitness YouTube channel. So shout out to you, bro. I appreciate you. I love you. And he's actually episode 20. He said I had to get my mental fitness right before he could get his physical fitness right. And it's been so cool. I'm looking at it on my phone right now of all the people. Ox, he's in the chat right now, episode 19. He's a wrestler. Like, we had Colt Walden on. That's my barber, Rich's barber. We had Dr. Peterson, our veterinarian.
Yeah.
AJ, the musician, was on. Brittany from Sidewalk Boutique up in Alabama, Fran from Clean Foods Kitchen, Footless Joe, Holden Hardman, just so many people. And it makes me sit back and think about meeting people that we never would have met had it not been for this. Tyler Gillette, now a good friend of mine, he's actually coming down this weekend, but he was on this podcast, and we had him on. That's right. When he didn't come for the first one. That's right. So we had him teleconference in through Zoom. And then ever since then, we've just been great friends. And then we made a video of me on the Matt Lane Fitness channel of me doing Ninja Warrior stuff, and just such a great friend. And then Josh Kirsch was on, my trainer, and the list goes on and on of just fantastic people that we met because of this podcast.
Yeah. Well, and some of those people too are people that happen to be in our lives regardless of what we do. And I think that's a great point to bring forward, is that there's a lot of people that you meet, that you interact with on a daily basis, that have really incredible stories if you take the time to get to know people.
Yeah. Well, and I'm scrolling through the list. I'm not going to apologize for it, because I look through this and I have pride of getting to know all these people. And like, I've now had former clients on, Derek Benson was on, and it's so cool to see all these people, man, now that I'm scrolling through. Andrew Kaplan's a good friend of mine that I still talk to. because of this podcast, that's how we hooked up. He saw me in Holden's content, and then we did a podcast for podcast.
Yeah.
And
John Knight.
And then Lee Cara, spoke with her 2 days ago. Andrew Perry, there's just been so many people. It's just been so fun. One thing, like, I think there was a podcast, and it was episode 75 with Jeremy Branch from Movies Are Terrible. Shout out to Jeremy. All three of us had a deepened relationship from that podcast because of what he shared.
Yeah.
We did not know that. Unbelievably vulnerable of him, and I thought it took so much balls for him to do that, and I love him so much for that. We had Craig Kahn on, who's been a fantastic friend of mine for a long time, and it was episode 92 when we came back, because I remember there was a little bit of time where it was just me, and I was working with other people, and then I was repurposing content. And I want to talk on that real quick about the adaptability. Like I said in the beginning, I set that up saying that I would repurpose content at times and all that. And what do you think it's going to look like now for the next 100 episodes? Like, what do you picture?
I think getting deeper, maybe revisiting some of the topics that we've touched on, but like kind of digging deeper a bit. And I think bringing some of these people in to talk that we've met along the way. You've done a great job with surrounding us with really interesting, deep people that are just regular people, but have overcome all kinds of stuff in life. And I think that that's important to bring forward, that the people that we have on the podcast aren't like world-renowned, whatever people. They're regular people, but have incredible stories. And I think that on some level, we all have an incredible story to tell.
Yeah, without a doubt. We did an episode where we talked about how we got in and out of debt of about $30,000. We also had a separate episode with Andrew Martin, a good friend of mine and our financial advisor. 2 clients actually reached out to me because they said they heard both of those podcasts, and they had a few more questions. I love that so much. I love that so much that these are 100 hooks. I look at these as 100 hooks or 100 business cards that are thrown out there that hopefully have given value. And to know that sprung a thought for them is incredible. And there's probably much, much more that's out there that wasn't reported. And I don't know, I've been very grateful for this podcast. And I will say that towards the end of last year in 2020, again, it was more of a autopilot is not the correct word, but I did start focusing a little more on the Matt Lane Fitness YouTube channel. I knew that Jenna was needing a little bit more of a reprieve. I did stop scheduling as many guests.
Yeah, I think it was more survival mode than autopilot mode.
But I say it with pride that I'm very proud. We put an episode out every single week, all the way up until this point.
Yeah. And let me
just
make sure I have it. Random Andy sent us a super chat.
Thanks, Andy, man.
Congrats on the 100th episode. So awesome. Also looking forward to hula hooping. MFM every day. Get well, Jenna. Love seeing that smile. Thank you.
I love so much that this will be cemented in history of the 100th episode. I love y'all. I appreciate you. Andy, thanks, man. I appreciate you.
I had to step back, which was hard.
Why?
I was not in a good mental place, or I just wasn't in a good place mentally. I guess
it was hard to step. It was hard to step back away from this.
It was hard to acknowledge that I wasn't in a good place to provide value to other people.
Got it.
And twice we got on the podcast, and I contributed absolutely zero, and I just couldn't. I just wasn't in the mental space to even think through, like, what am I going to talk about?
Right.
And so, at the time it hurt my feelings, but Matt, you were like, you need to like get it together or like take some time or.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important point to always make, is that you very lovingly said that, but it was absolutely necessary that you said you need to like
Get it,
step back,
get it together, get out.
regroup, get it together.
Yeah.
And but then you gave me some time.
Sure.
And it was a couple of months. And then you said, you're the co-host of this podcast. I need you to step back up, get it together, and step back up.
Well,
And very lovingly,
sure.
those weren't exactly his words, but that was the gist of the conversation. And I appreciate that so much, because I could have, without that gentle prodding, I probably would have sat back and said, I'm just not in a good enough mental place for a long time.
Sure.
And not stepped back up and got my thoughts together to come back up.
I want
to podcast.
I want to clarify, because obviously it's husband and wife, not just creator and creator. Whether you consider yourself a creator or not,
don't.
you are a creator. Whether you believe it or not, you are.
I'm part of content that's created. That doesn't make me a creator.
Your name is stamped on this. You are a creator. And here's the thing. When I said that to her of like, what do we need to do? I was possibly looking at a pivot of making you no longer a co-host. Not because it was bad or whatever, but because I did not know if you wanted to return, needed to return. And point blank, we owe anyone watching, anyone listening, we owe nothing to anyone. However, I believe as creators, if you do set some sort of expectation, that there is a little bit to explain, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't believe that we are bound for any reason that we owe anyone anything. Having said that, I'll make it my life's mission to constantly bring value to whoever is listening or watching.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah. You've carried this through. That's why you are the host and I'm the co-host, because you've carried it through.
We are two co-hosts of this podcast. We are both co-hosts, and you absolutely have brought value. And
I'm not saying that I haven't. I'm just that during that time,
sure,
I needed to step back and kind of regroup. And I'm not saying now that like I'm fixed,
sure,
and now I'm going to tell y'all how to get fixed. It's still going to be like mental health is a journey. It's not a destination.
Yeah, there is no fixed.
And so what we bring to you is not we're telling you how to do things because we're the experts. We're just sharing our experiences.
Yes.
And that's what our goal is. Bringing other people on the podcast is not like, we brought this person on who clearly has mastered whatever subject in life. So they're going to tell you how to master it too. Like
right.
They're sharing their experiences and their triumphs, which is very inspiring, and may, impact somebody. That podcast that may not, not every episode is for everybody.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. I am proud that we got to 826 subscribers again today. It's not the vanity metric that I'm proud of. It's the fact that we were able to do that without marketing it very much. I spoke a little bit about it on the Matt Lane Fitness YouTube channel, but there is no money that we make from this podcast. Granted, and I know that in time we will be able to make money from it, but I would do it if we never made money from it.
Yeah,
it's incredible. I love this thing, but yeah.
And honestly, I love it because it traps you in one room with me and makes you talk to me for an hour.
That makes a lot of sense. If you guys don't know me, I do have ADHD, and I'm constantly going. I'm not very comfortable with just sitting in one spot. Yeah. This right here is so much different because I know that what I'm doing is providing value. I'm doing stuff while I'm just sitting here, if that makes sense. So.
And let me read a super chat real quick. Connor Barrow, thank you so much.
Thank you, Connor.
Says, hey, Matt and Jenna, just want to say congrats on 100 episodes of the podcast. Knowing how hard you guys work and how much you put into this is inspiring.
I appreciate that. Thank you, man.
Hey, and MN sent us a super chat as well.
You owe us nothing except for hula hoops. Oh, Lord. Jesus, Jenna, look what you started.
I cannot wait to talk about it.
We're not there yet.
I know, but I cannot.
It's not happening on this podcast.
I cannot wait to talk about it.
It's not happening.
I'm looking forward to the next 100 episodes. I'm looking forward to our growth.
I'm gonna force you a little bit on something here.
Okay.
I'm gonna press you.
Great.
Is there any sort of growth? Is there any sort of milestone? Is there anything you want in the next 100 episodes? Is there anything in your head like, man, that'd be really cool if we could accomplish that, do that, see that?
I think I have a personal goal,
Okay.
like in life in general, not specifically with the podcast, but just to and I know I've mentioned Brene Brown's name 1,000 times, but I think I've listened to every single episode of her podcast now,
Right.
which is a lot of episodes. And
What's the name of the podcast?
I don't know.
Nailed it. Go ahead.
It's Brene Brown's podcast. I don't know. That's before we got on here. I was thinking about how amazing her book is that I've been listening to when I walk every day. And then I was like, I don't even know the name of her book. I just know it's Brene Brown's book. But it's Daring Greatly. That is the name of her book that I've been
Got it.
Listening to when I walk every day.
Okay.
But I think my goal personally is to allow myself to be more vulnerable and to live life more deeply, to like allow myself to feel life more rather than just stay surface.
Give me an example.
I mean, I feel like I just really just tend to live life on the surface and not really feel things deeply. I think I lack that attachment sometimes because of the fear of it being lost. So my goal currently is to work on loving more deeply, feeling more deeply, just in general. Like before the podcast started, I was thinking about like in this room is nothing but unconditional love, and like would each individual in this room say the same thing that comes from me as well? And I'm talking about our 3 dogs and
There you
my
go.
husband.
Yeah, you're written. There you go. Got it. Got it.
Because of course dogs give unconditional love, like that's a standard,
Sure.
I think. But I feel that unconditional love from you all the time. And my goal is to make sure that you feel that back as well.
Since the day we started, babe. Since the day we started. Absolutely. I've always felt that from you. I want to talk about the title of this podcast for a split second. If you don't know, the better than yesterday every day is the slogan of Matt Lane Fitness. And I was thinking about, what am I going to name this podcast? I had this podcast, I want to do it, but what am I going to name it? And I was like, the BTYE. And I love that. It's short, but nobody knows what the hell that means. And I very much thought later on into it, I was like, all right, the better than yesterday everyday podcast. That's pretty damn long. I do understand it's very long. And I said at some point I would start branding it as BTYE. So I see that now in the chat as we speak, actually, as BTYE. And it's so cool to me to see that, because I do plan on making apparel or merch that says BTYE. And that's something that ran through my head. So for anybody out there, it's like, why the hell is it such a long ass name? I mean,
yeah,
I had to give it the truth, though,
And my phone still autocorrects it to bite, and so BYTE.
The Bite Podcast. Yeah, and for clarification, we're the BTYE Podcast on YouTube and the Better Than Yesterday Everyday Podcast on all streaming platforms.
Yep.
Well, you got anything else in you?
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think we'd ever be here, honestly. Not that I doubted us, but it just seemed like episode 1 seemed so nerve-wracking, and I never even thought as far as episode 100.
I won't lie to you, neither did I. I mean, I knew that we would get there, but it wasn't a thought. It was more about, what's this podcast bringing? What's this one bringing? It was sort of like, it was purely just this podcast right here, the one we're on. Not the future, not the past. I don't give a damn about how great we've done in the past. Like, what are we doing right now? Mm-hmm. And ultimately, that's what matters. I mean, you're only as good as your last at bat, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
and
true.
I'm proud of us. I'm proud of the adaptability. I'm proud of your vulnerability. And it's just been a blast.
Yeah, I think so too. We've learned a lot about a lot of people, about life, about each other.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to learn more.
Without a doubt. I've always looked at the content that we make as documentation, either documentation or, putting out what we've learned already, documentation or education, if you want to call it. And I'm so happy that forever we'll have these documentation pieces.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
If you were a guest on this podcast and I did not mention your name, it does not mean that I care of you less. It just means that I had 100 to sift through really quickly, and I thank you greatly. I appreciate everybody tuning in every single week, listening. We've had over 15,000 downloads on all streaming platforms in 100 episodes,
That's
and
a lot.
I'm very proud of that. I am.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, it's that's nerve-wracking, honestly.
What, knowing that it's been listened to 15,000 times?
Yeah. The people have heard me mumble along for an hour for
One on the YouTube
15,000 times.
One on the YouTube channel, 11,820 views. And August 27th, 2019 was the day we launched the YouTube channel.
Yep.
And man, it's just been
It
a
was
blast.
the 27th?
It says the 27th here.
I thought it was the 16th.
Well, that's when I launched the YouTube channel, so it might have been a little after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because the 16th, August 16th is when we started dating.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
2009.
That's right. That's
why
right.
we picked that date.
Well, heck yeah. I appreciate you guys. I love you. Again, if you want to support this podcast, there's a link in the description below. Patreon. It's a great way to do it. You're going to get behind the scenes access. And that was something that I intentionally included. It's mainly for the Matt Lane Fitness channel, but it's also for this. And I'd been releasing podcast episodes early, like episode 99, which was Holden and I, this past episode.
Sitting in the car.
Sitting in the car, man.
With his seatbelt on,
It
by
was
the way.
so fun. Released that episode early to the patrons. So I appreciate you. If you want to support us, that'd be great.
Yep.
I love you. And as always, we'll talk to you next week, guys.
This has been the Better Than Yesterday Everyday Podcast. We want to thank you for listening and invite you to subscribe to the show as well. And follow Matt Lane Fitness on YouTube. Until next time, you don't have to be perfect. Just be better than yesterday every day.
That was fun.
We did good.